I've always said that the difference between any sales job and every other type of profession in the world is that most professions are work processors. You're given work, you do your work is then judged, and it's either given a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and then you're given more work. But in selling, you have to be a work creator. You have to actually go out and find your work. And then you have to be really good at it too after that. And so that's where that emotional, intellectual, and sometimes leading into physical lift comes in to become good at sales. Would that make sense to you?
Well, yeah. I mean, what you're talking about is consistency and persistence, and just because you speak something into existence doesn't make it happen. You then have to do what you're going to do. Do what you say you're going to do. I just dropped an episode right before we got on this call, and it was about, what are the building blocks of trust? And, it really comes down to not just wanting and telling somebody that you're committed to doing something. Make it easy, right? Tell them what you're going to do. Tell them who you're going to do it to or with. Tell them how you're going to do it and when you're going to do it, and then go do it. That clarity creates trust. And then the fact that you've done what you said you're going to do validates that trust. It really crystallizes it. And if you do that with everything, I mean, just think about that, how you show up with your family, how you show up with your friends, with your colleagues, they will come to trust that you're a person that says you're going to do what you're going to do. And if you can look yourself in the mirror and have that same conversation, I think you've hit the jackpot. No one can hide from the mirror, right?
For sure.
I love the work creator one he does. I've heard that a few times. I still like it, Jim. I like that.
I do it for you, Scott.
So you just mentioned persistence.
Yeah.
Which is a common core competency among sales reps. And I noticed that in looking at some of your videos that you drop, you also list some of the common traits of other top performing sales reps as resilience and perseverance. Do you think that is a common trait among sales reps as well?
Gosh,
you could say that's a good question.
I mean, it's an insightful question, because it made me think, I don't know if it's the common trait of a salesperson. It's the way that I think. And, you're right. You can't be good at something and not be persistent at it, right? You can't be a good golfer if you don't play golf a lot, right? Even good golfers have to play a lot. They lose their edge. It's got to be exactly the same with sales. And it's not just, again, I think everything we do, we're in sales in some form or fashion.
Sure.
And if you're in operations and you really want to understand what all the problems are, you have to go in and look at everything that impacts everything about a sale, everything about a customer acquisition, everything about a way a partner engages with AWS and how we work with them to give them the data that they need. You need to know all of that. And that means that you've got to be persistent going after and asking the questions to dive deeply enough to get a good understanding of it so you can innovate and cut out some of the unnecessary things. It's the same with sales. So I guess I love the fact that the terms persistence and resilience, tenacity pop up, because it's how I live my life. I want to be persistent. I want to be resilient. I want to be able to get some not necessarily great news and be able to bounce back because I have a plan to overcome that. I just don't want to be, in a situation where I'm defeated. And that requires resilience. So if that message is getting through, then I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, and it's interesting you brought that up because it really kind of segues nicely into what I was thinking about next, which was we talked about consistency and perseverance and all the things that make a successful salesperson and a successful individual, right? But how do you mentor? Because you've mentored so many people in your career. How do you mentor someone in sales that are struggling to stay motivated through rejection, setbacks, surprises, whatever?
Yeah. I've had this conversation a lot. It's not always with young people. People are doing a different kind of sales. This happens quite a lot as well. First off, you have to just listen to them. I spend a lot of time listening. Mentorship is interesting because a lot of people want you to tell them what to do, and it's really not the role of a mentor. The mentor should be somebody who you can bounce things off and they can give you guidance on that. They have to, the person still has to do a lot of the work, and they have to have some understanding of what they want to get out of the relationship. When people are struggling learning how to sell early on, especially in a new team coming into a new environment, I mean, this happens a lot, right? You're a big shot at some company, you get brought into another big company, and now you're kind of new and you feel alone. Well, the reality is you're never alone. You shouldn't ever look at anything as if you're a lone wolf and you got to kill it and be the person that gets all the answers. In fact, you should never think of things that way. You should look at everyone in your organization, every team member, as your personal resource. And you should ask for help often. And it is only through help and conversation with others and sharing of some of the challenges that you have where you're going to be able to get true help from others. Everyone wants to see you succeed. There's the rare person that, is just unhappy and wants you to be unhappy as well. Everyone has to deal with that. But in reality, you've got people that want you to succeed and want to help. I have been amazed at how many people are willing to help somebody who has asked. Me, I've asked people for help, and I couldn't believe how quickly they wanted to do that. And I've always said, I want to be that person. I want to be the person that people will remember and say, you know what? I asked you for help and you dropped whatever you were doing and you were happy to do it. And you gave me a whole new idea. And it was like nothing to the person that did that. I love that. So yeah, don't ever think you're alone. Ask for help early and often, because the longer you wait for help, the longer you wait to ask, the further behind the 8 ball you feel. And while I say it's never too late, in your mind, it will be too late. And then you can never change that. You're defeated. So don't ever get to a point where you're defeated.
Excellent.
Early on, Mike, you referenced a little bit about habits and some of their daily habits or routines that you implement in your life. Are there any daily habits or routines from your grit challenge specifically that you would recommend for sales to boost for performance or revenue impact?
Yeah. Well, first off, have a routine in the morning and have it not be what you normally do. I mean, for months, if not years. So I didn't start with the daily grit. I actually started with I wrote under shift wit, right? And it was just this idea where you can shift your mind and I tried to be sharp with the shift and the wit. Anyway, it was really the same. It's like the daily grit. But for years, I would spend time, maybe once a month, maybe once every couple of weeks, I would write an article. And that created a lot of routine for me where I needed to know what I was writing and then spend time writing it and then post it, because at that point, that was like the videos of the day. It kept you connected and it forced you to be a little bit more aware of what you were trying to do. But I kind of got away from that because I was doing something really difficult, leading this team of transformation, cloud transformation for these partners. And I took my eye off the ball of LinkedIn for a while, and I felt distracted. And so my routine in the morning wasn't always what it was, where I was learning a little bit about, data and analytics, or I was focused on a particular kind of technology or a partner problem. I got a lot of education that way, but when I was just focused on my team and the things that we were doing and the AWS, the internal stuff that we were working on, I took my eye off the ball and I felt guilty about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, now when I wake up in the morning, my routine isn't just shoveling coffee into my veins. It's now get my coffee, get set, and think about what I'm grateful for. And I'm grateful for my job, right? I'm grateful for the ability for me to get up in the morning and think about my job and do these things. And that puts me in a good frame of mind, even if I got a big problem that I have to deal with. And it's allowed me to take my focus off of what things can I, occupy my time while I'm waiting for the caffeine to kick in. Now the caffeine is just the routine, and I'm actually putting myself into the right frame of mind to start my day, to be grateful and take ownership of one or two problems that I want to solve that day. So my suggestion is have a routine that is productive. It doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be something that nobody wants to start their day doing expenses. So do something that is both productive and gives you some enjoyment, and it sets you up for the rest of the day, but don't spend so much time on it that you get exhausted. Your next routine better be something that gets your heart pumping, whether it's going for a walk or going to work out. If you are a morning person, if you're an evening person, that's a different story. You can make time for that later in the day. But for me, I'm a morning person. That means I got to get up early enough to get that stuff done so that I can have a productive morning and be available to the team that needs me. But yeah, have a routine. It's absolutely imperative.